Hello, thank you for joining me. I'm the 10-minute English teacher. Let's get you exam ready. You're here to revise Lord of the Flies for AQA GCSE English Literature. And today we're thinking about 10 quotes everyone must know. I'm going to walk you through 10 key quotes and talk about why they're really great for you to know for the exam. Okay, our first reference today, our first quote is "Skull like coconuts." It's right at the beginning of the novel, first page, I believe. In the descriptions of the island, Golding mentions there being skull-like coconuts on the beach. And it's a really great simile because we've got this image of a skull there and it foreshadows death. I think Golding really wants us to realise the trouble that these boys are in and the gravity of the situation. And it's quite interesting because when Ralph becomes leader, he completely overlooks the dangers. And that sort of foreshadows his failing as a leader. We get a good sense that things are going to go wrong in the novel. And it's something that Ralph is oblivious to. It's also interesting because this is a novel about good versus evil. That's the key opposition in the novel. And Golding uses a lot of symbolism to sort of communicate that to us. So we've got skull-like coconuts, but there are also conflicting, contrasting descriptions that are quite positive. There are miraculous throbbing stars in the sky that sort of contrast with this. So throughout the novel, there's a lot of opposition being used to sort of reflect that. Second reference. This is a good island, and that's what Ralph says. It's a novel about good versus evil. And when Ralph says this is a good island, we've already heard those descriptions that Golding's layered on the island. We know it's not a good island. It's a place where good and evil coexist. And ultimately, that's what the novel's about, because good and evil coexist in all of us. And that's what Simon comes to realise later in the novel when he speaks with the Lord of the Flies. It's a realisation that Ralph doesn't have. So this is a good island is a fantastic quote. And it also foreshadows his failing as a leader. We know he's not going to hold on to power and that he's going to get usurped by Jack. He's going to take over. And it's a really interesting moment of foreshadowing here. Interestingly, this novel, in the first chapter, almost all of the action is spelled out to the reader in chapter 1. So, if you're wanting to revisit the novel yourself and read back through it, chapter 1 is the one to know really confidently. And here's another moment, hurt and crushed. If you know where this came from, this moment in chapter 1, then well done. And if you don't, Piggy says to Ralph that he doesn't want his name disclosed, his nickname from school disclosed to the other boys when they get together. And Jack says, "Shut up, fatty, you're talking too much." And Ralph, rather than stand up for Piggy and stand up to Jack, he says his name's not Fatty, it's Piggy. And Golding said later on when Piggy says, "You told them after all I said," Golding writes that Ralph sees that Piggy is hurt and crushed. And it makes us realise how vulnerable Piggy is. We know that he's going to struggle to be safe on this island, and it effectively foreshadows his death. Because what happens to him? He gets hurt and crushed. Next one, Daddy's ship. That's what Ralph seems to think will come to rescue them. So he talks about Daddy's ship. Great word you can use about this. If you call someone daddy, if I was to talk about my daddy, it's childish, but there's a great word for that. So it infantilises Ralph. Makes him look like an infant, right? So it infantilises him. We know that Ralph hasn't got the maturity to be a leader and to keep his tribe or the islanders safe. So he talks about Daddy's ship. Interesting, later on in the novel, when everything starts to go wrong and when the fire's gone out and they've missed their opportunity to be rescued and the ship's headed off into the distance, he talks about his father. So it shows that he's starting to reevaluate, the island and starting to realise just the danger they're in. It's too late at that point. The end of chapter 1. Next time there would be no mercy. Now, every character in this novel has got good and evil in them, including Jack. Jack's got good in him. That's the reason that he can't kill a pig at the end of chapter 1. But Golding writes, next time there would be no mercy. So we know that Jack is going to change. We know that he's going to be a threat to Ralph. We know there's going to be violence on the island. It's a really interesting end to the first chapter. If you think about what Golding does structurally, the first chapter ends with this quite unsavoury tone. And the second chapter does as well. We've got the boy with the birthmark who dies. So Golding is ending these opening chapters in a sort of distressing way, just to make sure it's crystal clear this is not going to have a happy ending. When Jack puts on the face paint, he sees himself as an awesome stranger. Awesome is an adjective that reflects the idea of having godlike power, right? So it's a word that's used badly when people talk about things being awesome. Awesome means some power that cannot be really understood in human terms. If there is a God, then God is awesome. That's what that word means. So he sees himself as godlike. And at this point, if he sees himself as godlike, we realise he's not going to care about Ralph's power and his authority on the island. Like a wolf, and I like this quote because it's really straightforward. It's another simile. We had skull like coconuts. Now we've got like a wolf, another lovely little simile. If you want to sound clever, it's zoomorphic. So we've got zoo, animal, morph, change. It's an example of zoomorphism. And this moment is where Ralph is fed by Jack. Ralph's the chief at this point. Jack kills the pig and he feeds everybody while he talks about the kill. And Ralph eats his meat like a wolf. So it reflects the idea that these boys are descending into savagery, but it also reflects the idea that Ralph is losing his status and his authority to Jack. Amid the roaring of bees in the afternoon sun, he found for the fruit they could not reach. So this moment here is when Simon is feeding the little ones. There's all sorts of conflict happening on the island at this point, and Simon it's one of the most positive images in the novel. If you were going to try and paint a picture of something nice from Lord of the Flies, there aren't actually many nice images from the novel for you to draw a lovely picture of. This is one of them. It's Simon feeding those boys, feeding the little ones. So it's an interesting bit there. We've normally got a lot of heat and all, and a lot of people. People don't look after each other well enough on this island, and Simon seems to be outside of that. And he's certainly outside of the battle for power that's going on between Jack and Ralph. There were no words and no movements, but the tearing of teeth and claws is the moment where Simon's killed. It's zoomorphism again. Interestingly, we got teeth and claws. When the boys were talking, the little ones were saying they'd seen a beast, they mentioned teeth and claws. So the idea that Golding uses that phrase again, teeth and claws, is to remind us that the boys have become the thing that they feared. And the only thing really to have feared in the first place was the evil that we're all capable of. Now, this quote is one you have to know because Ralph and Piggy are involved in killing Simon. So Golding chooses his heroes to be involved in this killing just to show us that we've all got the capacity for evil. And if you get a question about Jack, he's involved. You get a question about Piggy, he is. Get a question about Ralph, he is. Get a question about Simon, it's his death. Get a question about good and evil. Well, this is a moment where you see that. There isn't going to be a reason why you're not going to be able to get this quote into your response in an exam. So it's one you definitely should know and be able to comment on. And this is one that's really easily overlooked in the novel. But it's what Piggy says when Ralph says that what they did to Simon was murder. And Piggy says, "It wasn't what you said." And the dash here, that pause, is Piggy not being able to bring himself to say the word murder. But it's better than that. That dash is humanity's inability to accept its own true nature and learn from it and be able to overcome the evil that we're all capable of. So that for me is just a really poignant, brilliant, wonderful quote for you to be able to say something really sophisticated about. Looks really simple at face value, really easy to learn, really easy to remember. Do a Piggy impression 3 or 4 times and it'll be well and truly in your pocket. But it's got a lot of weight. When you look, beyond the surface, it's got that's full of really interesting, wonderful, rich analysis that you can provide. To end on, there are the quotes. You've got the 10 quotes from me that I think are definitely worth knowing for the examination. What you can do is go back over this video, listen to it again, and as you go through it, write all the quotes down on a piece of paper. And then you can hide them. How many can you remember? Test yourself, and then I would recommend doing a dance move for all of these. Like a wolf, do a wolf impression or something in the mirror, whatever. Try and come up with some ways of remembering these. Draw a picture, do your flashcards, whatever it is you need to do, but get these 10 quotes under your under your belt and in your pocket for the examination. Not literally, you're not allowed to take them in, but know them confidently and know what to say about them. Thank you for joining me. Do have a little look at the other videos on my channel, and please like and subscribe. I hope you have a really wonderful rest of your day and good luck in the rest of your revision.